The Witchcraft Act was established in Great Britain in 1735, and this act would be the foundation for a law that still exists in South Africa today. This law, known as the Witchcraft Suppression Act of 1957, basically outlaws anyone who is considered to be a witch. Now, a witch is someone who is different from a sangoma. A sangoma uses the occult or the practices of traditional African beliefs for healing, whereas a witch uses them for harm. And secondly, this bill was amended in 1997 to basically, because South Africa believes in everyone's beliefs, they're all constitutionally protected. So this bill was amended to basically say that it's okay to be a witch, but just don't use the occult to harm others. And this is part of our law. Today I'm going to get into some of the occult crimes. What is considered an occult crime? Because there seemed to be a lot of confusion in the comment section of my last video. So I'm going to break it down for you. And I'm going to start with African occult crimes. When I say African, I mean traditional African belief systems. Now, the first one that we're going to discuss is psychic witchcraft. So this is probably the hardest one to prove, but there have been cases where it's been prosecuted and proven. That is, it often involves the use of paraphernalia and letters and tokens of ill intent from one person to another in order to curse them. And this is involved very much in the case of witches and their familiars. So witches and their familiars are not believed to be part of this realm or the spirit realm, but they're actually believed to exist in both. Witches will find familiars and they will train them. When they're trained, they actually go and carry out the witch's commands. So they will go, for example, it is believed that the tokolosh will be sent to decrease fertility and virility, whereas a cat, if you send a cat, for example, if it sits on your chest, then it will kill you and stop your heart from beating. So these fall under African witchcraft. And there was one case that was proven where the person who was being bewitched came outside into the yard at night and found the witch naked in the yard, and then they called the police, and this person was actually prosecuted for it. Now, the second one that I'm going to discuss is probably the most common, which is witch hunting. For example, in a community, if there is unexplained misfortune, so if all the crops fail, if everyone gets sick, if people start dying all of a sudden with no really explained cause, then it is believed to be due to ill intent. What happens is that someone in the community has to take responsibility in order for the misfortune to stop. And they either have to admit to wishing the harm on the village or the others and take their responsibility, or they will have a diviner, the local diviner in the village, who will point them out and say, no, this is the person who's accused of doing this. And often this accumulates in harm to the perceived witch or even death of the perceived witch. And the occult unit actually come in and investigate the witch killings per se. They actually prosecute people. They help prosecute people who help kill witches, which can be seen as anti-occult in a kind of way, right? This is interesting because a lot of you spoke about the torso that was found in the UK, in the Thames, known as the Adam case from 2001. So what happened was that the torso of a unknown little African boy was found floating in the Thames, and investigators from Scotland Yard actually came to South Africa to help gain insight because they believed it was a slash between voodoo and killing. And that's where we're going to get onto Muti murders. So Muti is the killing of person for the harvesting of their body parts in order to make Muti, which is medicine, which also becomes translated to a magic potion. Now, the disturbing part about Muti murders is that it often occurs while people are alive. Their body parts are harvested from them while they are alive. This is because it is believed that if body parts are extracted in this way, it's actually going to make the medicine or the muti stronger, because the life force of the person is still imprinted on that body part the time it's removed. Now, muti killings are different from satanic rituals, because satanic rituals have a sort of ritualistic component about them. You'll often find 5-pointed stars, you will find candles, things along that nature. So things that are also taken from the body matter in muti killings. For example, if you take the genitals of the person, like we saw with Le Cornefose, then that is for virility, for if you are struggling to have a child. And if you take the breasts, then it's to attract more women into your business. If you take the hands, it's to increase the profitability of your business by shaking hands with someone, for example, is making deals. And if you take the fat, it's considered lucky. And if you take the skull from a neighboring tribe who you are having a disagreement with, and then you bury it in your tribe's land, then it will give you an upper hand on that tribe during your disagreement. And then also the tongue is used for love, to help in the courting process, to be more of a smooth talker to your beloved. And finally, the eyes. I mean, this is what we know with Jocelyn, right? It's alleged that she was sold because of her eyes. That is for farsightedness. So if you want to hone your intuition to see what's happening in the future, to see what's coming, and to help with that. And that is basically an overall of the African side of the occult unit. And then we've got the second branch, which is Satanism. And Satanism is the worship of someone known as Satan, which is real or perceived. And basically, there's been a lot of Satanistic killings in South Africa over the years. I can think of Gert van Rooyen. He wasn't a dominee, he was like an usher, I think that's the name for it, at my father's church when my father was growing up. He and his mistress apparently killed little girls and performed satanic rituals with them. You also have Marie Smith, who in I think 2014 decapitated a homeless man as part of a ritual. And then you also have Monet Harms, that boy who he said he was on a farm, and then a ghost came to him and said, you need to kill people. And he went to school with a katana, and he killed someone else. He wounded a whole lot of other people. They also cover aspects of Christians who commit crimes. For example, if the Jim Jones incident happened in South Africa, the occult unit would cover that. And Jim Jones was this American pastor who developed a cult around his branch of Christianity. He moved everyone to South America, and he gave everyone arsenic or cyanide in juice to drink. And that's where the saying drinking the Kool-Aid comes from, because they all drank Kool-Aid, which was laced with cyanide, and they all died. So I see I am running out of a video here, so stay tuned for part 2.